Hi, I am Sheikh Mahbub Basha. Welcome to my channel. Happy learning.
Okay students, welcome. Today let us start with the critical angle and the total internal reflection and the lab activity regarding this critical angle and total internal reflection. This is rarer medium. Its absolute refractive index is taken as N1. This is denser medium. Its absolute refractive index is taken as N2. Let us study the case of a light ray passing from denser medium to rarer medium. Here, a light ray is projected from the denser medium into rarer medium. Carefully observe the light ray. It is projected normally to the interface. What is interface here? The line or the plane separating the two media, that is denser medium and rarer medium, is called the interface. So this green portion is a denser medium, that blue portion is a rarer medium, and separating line is the interface. Here the light ray is projected normally onto the interface. And here you can note that this light ray has travelled straight without any deviation. So this light ray, which is projected normally, has no deviation. It travelled in a straight path. So note down the point. During normal incidence, though there is a change of medium, the light ray travels in a straight path without any bending. During normal incidence. So here the light ray is incident normally to the interface, perpendicular to the interface. Okay. Though there is a change of medium, here light ray passed from denser medium to rarer medium. Change of medium is there, but the light ray travels in a straight path without any bending. So in case of normal incidence, there won't be any bending. The light ray travels in a straight path. Okay. Note down this point. Then, here a light ray is projected at some angle at the point of incidence, that is the point where this light ray touches the interface. A normal is drawn. The angle of this incident ray with the normal is the angle of incidence, name it as I1. As the light ray is passing from denser medium to rarer medium, it bends away from the normal. So the light ray takes this path, and here let the angle of refraction is R1. Here the Snell's law is obeyed. N2 sin I1 is equal to N1 sin R1. Let me make you clear. In the derivation of Snell's law, finally we got the expression N1 sin I is equal to N2 sin R. Don't blindly by heart this equation, N1 sin I is equal to N2 sin R. Look at this picture. See this. Here the I1, that is the angle of incidence, is in the medium, denser medium, and its refractive index is N2. So you have to write N2 sin I1. N2 and I1 are one pair. They are in one medium. So N2 sin I1 is equal to N1 and R1 are one pair. They are in one medium. So N1 and R1 are one pair, is equal to N1 sin R1. N2 sin I1 is equal to N1 sin R1. Okay, right. So here this refraction obeys the Snell's law. N2 sin I1 is equal to N1 sin R1. Now, this time let the light is projected in some other angle. Let this angle is I2. Then the refracted ray will be this one and the angle of refraction is R2. Once again, Snell's law is obeyed. N2 sin I2 is equal to N1 sin R2. N2 and I2 are from one medium. N1 and R2 are from one medium. So, N2 sin I2 is equal to N1 sin R2. Okay. Now, this light ray is projected at some other angle of incidence. Specially, it is called as C. And look at this refracted ray. Look at this refracted ray. In this case, when the angle of incidence in the denser medium I is equal to C, then the light ray grazes the interface of this media. So, there is interface. The line in between this rarer medium and denser medium is the interface. So, in this case, the light ray is passing along the interface in between the two media. Always the angle of refraction is measured from normal. So, for this ray, from the normal, angle will be 90 degree. If you assume the normal as y-axis, this ray is along x-axis. Therefore, angle of refraction is 90 degree. So, here in this third case, when the angle of incidence in the denser medium is C, the angle of refraction in the rarer medium R is equal to 90 degree. Okay, this is a special case definitely, because R is equal to 90 degree, the line is grazing the interface. So, for this special case also, Snell's law is applicable. Write down the Snell's law. Here, N2 and C are from one media. Therefore, N2 sin C is equal to N1 and 90 degree are from one media. They are one pair. So, N1 sin 90 degree. So, N2 sin C is equal to N1. You know, sin 90 is equal to 1. Sin 90 value equal to 1. Therefore, LHS N2 sin C as it is equal to as it is N1 as it is. In place of sin 90 degree, I have written 1. Then sin C is equal to N1 by N2. Here, C is the special angle that is called as a critical angle. N2 is the absolute refractive index of denser medium, and N1 is the absolute refractive index of rarer medium. If the rarer medium is air, then N1 is equal to 1. Already we have discussed about refractive indices of various media. In that table, we discussed about the refractive index of air is 1.003, which is treated as 1. So, the refractive index of air is 1. If you assume that the rarer medium is air, then you can substitute N1 is equal to 1. Then the above formula becomes sin C is equal to 1 by N2. Okay, right. This N1 and N2 are confusing. Sometimes N1 may be used for a rarer medium. Sometimes N1 may be used for denser medium. So, it creates some confusion. So, let us change the symbols. If ND is the absolute refractive index of the denser medium and NR is the absolute refractive index of rarer medium, then the above formulas sin C is equal to N1 by N2 can be written as sin C is equal to NR by ND. In place of N1, NR. In place of N2, ND. And the second formula, sin C equal to 1 by N2 can be written as sin C is equal to 1 by ND. Okay? Right. Then we have used the symbol C. That C is the critical angle. Let us give a definition. Let us define the critical angle. Suppose the case of light ray passing from denser medium to rarer medium. If you go on increasing the angle in the denser medium, at some stage you will find that the ray grazes the interface of the media. That means angle of refraction is 90 degrees. For that angle of refraction R is equal to 90 degrees, the angle in the denser medium is noted as C, and this is called as critical angle. So, when a light ray travels from a denser medium to a rarer medium, if the angle of refraction in the rarer medium is 90 degrees, angle of refraction in the rarer medium is 90 degree, then the corresponding angle of incidence in the denser medium is called critical angle of that pair of media. So let us come from the beginning. Let a light ray travels from a denser medium to a rarer medium. Condition is light ray should be traveling from denser medium to rarer medium. First condition. Then second condition. If the angle of refraction in the rarer medium is 90 degree, so angle of refraction in the rarer medium should be 90 degree. Right. Second condition. Then corresponding angle of incidence in the denser medium is called critical angle. Light ray is passing from denser medium to rarer medium, and angle of refraction in the rarer is 90 degree. Then the angle of incidence in the denser medium is called critical angle, denoted by letter C. Okay. Right. Then, if the angle is further increased, that is, the angle of incidence in the denser medium is further increased, made greater than C, then the ray reflects into the same denser medium. Till now, it has been passing along the normal, refracted away from normal, finally grazed the interface. It's over. If the light ray is incident at an angle greater than the critical angle, this ray is incident at an angle of incidence greater than C, then this light ray reflects back into the same medium, that is denser medium. The light ray from denser medium reflects back into the same denser medium. Instead of entering into the rarer medium, it reflected back into the denser medium, so this is called reflection. Light ray from denser medium is back to the denser medium, so it is called reflection. Here in this reflection, it happened within the denser medium, therefore it is called internal reflection. Moreover, there won't be even 1% refraction, 1% light is not permitted into the rarer medium, total 100% is reflecting, therefore it is called a total internal reflection. 100% is reflecting, therefore total. Within the denser medium is happening, therefore internal. Reflecting into the same medium, so reflection. So this is called total internal reflection. When angle of incidence in the denser medium is greater than C, then the ray reflects into the same denser medium. This phenomenon is called total internal reflection. I repeat, when angle of incidence in the denser medium is greater than C, then the ray reflects into the same denser medium. This phenomenon is called total internal reflection. Okay. Here, R is equal to I. Here it is shown R is equal to C, wrong, R is equal to I. So, in this reflection, when this reflection takes place, for the condition I greater than C, one condition is light ray should be trying to pass from denser to rarer. Second condition is angle of incidence I should be greater than C. Then the light ray reflects, and here the angle of reflection R is equal to I. When angle of incidence in the denser medium is greater than critical angle, then I is equal to R. Angle of incidence, angle of reflection are equal. This law of reflection is obeyed. We know the laws of reflection. That laws are obeyed here in this total internal reflection. Okay. This is our double protractor that we have prepared for lab activity 1. Already I informed that this will be useful in some other experiment. So today we will use the same double protractor we have drawn earlier. It has 4 quadrants. Let us assume the x and y axis as shown here. A semicircular glass slab is placed on the double protractor diagram such that its diameter of the semicircular slab coincides with the diameter of the double protractor, and center of the semicircular slab coincides with the center of the double protractor. Okay, 2 things, diameters should coincide, centers should coincide. Okay, then observe this laser pointer at the bottom at the negative y axis. Here I is equal to 0 degree. When the ray is along the normal, then angle of incidence is said to be 0 degree. So the ray travels in a straight path along the y axis from bottom to top. Therefore, angle of refraction is 0 degree. Note down these values in the table. 2 columns I, R. For I is equal to 0 degree, R is also 0 degree. Now, shift this laser pointer. I is equal to 10 degree. So, in the third quadrant, from the negative y axis, the angle starts. So, second line is 10 degree. So, the ray is projected along 10 degree. And here, after refraction, after passing from glass to air, the angle between the ray and the normal is 15 degree. So, note these values. For I is equal to 10 degree, R is equal to 15 degree. Then, shift the laser pointer to some other angle. I is equal to 20 degree. Between the incident ray and the normal, angle is 20 degree. This ray is projected to the center of the glass slab. So, this is refracted ray. Here, the angle of refraction is 32 degree. For I is equal to 20 degree, R is equal to 32 degree. Note these values in the table. For I is equal to 20 degree, R is equal to 32 degree. Then go for another angle of incidence. This time shift the laser pointer to 30 degrees. I is equal to 30 degrees. Then this ray, after passing from glass into air, it bends away from normal as it is moving from denser medium to rarer medium. Here R is equal to 46 degree. So for angle of incidence I is equal to 30 degree, angle of refraction is 46 degree. Note these values in the table. Then select some other angle. So here the laser pointer is shifted to angle of incidence 40 degree. I is equal to 40 degree. The light ray from the laser passes through the glass slab to its center, then enters into air. So refraction takes place. It bends away from the normal. So R is equal to 74 degree. For angle of incidence I is equal to 40 degree, angle of refraction R is equal to 74 degree. For I is equal to 40 degree, R is equal to 74 degree. Now, here is the special case. This is the special case. For I is equal to 42 degree, for I is equal to 42 degree, refraction takes place, but this refracted ray grazes the interface, that is, it moves along the line, common line of glass and air, that is the interface. So for I is equal to 42 degree, R is equal to 90 degree. This is the special case. So for I is equal to 42 degree, R is equal to 90 degree. This 42 degree is called critical angle. So we got critical angle as 42 degree. So now increase the angle of incidence. This time I is selected as 45 degree, and look at this ray. It reflects back into the glass. The ray in the glass reflects within the glass, and angle of reflection is 45 degree. For 45 degree, for I is equal to 45 degree, R is equal to 45 degree, but it is reflection. It is not refraction, it is reflection. So select some other angle. So this time I is equal to 50 degree is selected. If the ray is passed into the glass slab at an angle I is equal to 50 degree, then the ray reflects into the same glass slab with the angle R is equal to 50 degree. So for I is equal to 50 degree, R is equal to 50 degree. That means the law of reflection is obeyed. In law of reflection, I is equal to R. That's what we are seeing here. For 45, 45. For 50, 50. And for R is equal to 90 degree, the I value was 42 degree. That is called as critical angle. And this reflection of light ray after 42 degree, when the incident angle I is greater than 42 degree, that light ray is reflecting back. The ray in the glass is reflecting into the same glass. So this is called as total internal reflection. So 2 points to be noted here. Up to 42 degree, refraction took place. After 42 degree, reflection took place. And that boundary is at 42 degree. So that 42 degree is called the critical angle. Below critical angle, refraction is there. Above critical angle, reflection is there. And that critical angle value in case of glass, we got as 42 degree. Okay, right. Applications of total internal reflection. During a hot summer day, while driving or while walking on a road, it appears that water has collected on the road at a distant place, but when we reach there, we don't find any water. It is an optical illusion. It is called as mirage. Do you know the reason for the formation of mirages? The formation of mirage is due to the phenomenon total internal reflection. Let me explain. During a hot summer day, air just above the road surface is very hot and the air at higher altitudes is cool. It means that the temperature decreases with the height. As a result of this temperature difference, density of air also varies. We know that density is inversely proportional to temperature. So, just above the road, temperature will be maximum and there the density of air will be least. The refractive index of air increases with density. That means very close to the hot road, density is less and refractive index is less. As we move to altitudes, the temperature decreases, density increases and hence refractive index increases. So, the cooler air at the top has greater refractive index than hotter air just above the road. So, we have got many layers in the air above the hot road which are differing in their refractive indices. As we move from bottom to top, the refractive index of the air layers increases. So the bottommost is the rarermost medium and the topmost is the densermost medium. When the light from a tall object such as tree passes through air just above the road, whose refractive index decreases towards ground, it suffers refraction and takes a curved path because of total internal reflection. So here the light rays are passing from denser to rarer. Whenever the condition, that is the angle of incidence is greater than the critical angle, is satisfied, the rays reflect back into the denser medium, that is the rays coming from top reflects back, and this causes an illusion to the observer that water being present on the road and he is seeing the inverted image of that tree in that water. Actually, the total internal reflection takes place. The rays coming from the tree are reflected back into the air, but the observer feels that the rays are coming from the ground. On the ground there is water and he is seeing the rays coming from the image that is inside the water. So this is how the mirages are formed. Applications of total internal reflection. Already we discussed about the formation of mirages, then brilliance of diamonds, optical fibers. The diamond's brilliance is due to total internal reflection. Total internal reflection is the main reason for brilliance of diamonds. You know the refractive index of diamond is 2.42. Then the refractive index and the critical angle are related by the formula sin C equal to 1 by n. Then sin C equal to 1 by 2.42. On simplification, we get C equal to 24.4 degree. So it is very low compared to many other materials. This very low critical angle of diamond makes the light to suffer multiple times of total internal reflection, and that makes the diamond shine. One more application of total internal reflection is optical fibers. Optical fiber is a very thin fiber made of plastic. Generally, it is a coaxial wire with 2 or 3 layers. The central layer has maximum refractive index and it acts as denser medium. Then the surrounding medium will have slightly less refractive index and hence it acts as a rarer medium. The optical fiber will be very thin. Its diameter will be about 10 to the power of minus 6 meters. Very thin wire. A bunch of such optical fibers is called a light pipe. This diagram helps us to understand how a light ray passes through an optical fiber. A light ray that enters into the core, that is the central part, that is the denser medium, will enter at an angle of incidence called glazing angle. Then when the light ray falls on the walls of this core, the condition that the angle of incidence is greater than critical angle will be satisfied, and hence total internal reflection takes place. Thus the light is reflected back into the same medium, and this continues again and again, and the light ray after multiple total internal reflections continues to move along the core
and reaches to the other end of the fiber. Like that, the light ray that entered into the optical fiber from one end can travel to thousands of kilometers of optical fiber to reach the other end. The shape of the optical fiber, it may be wounded like a coil, it may be stretched like a straight wire, it may be having multiple times bendings. It makes no difference for this optical fiber to carry a light beam from one end to the other end, and for almost infinite length, independent of shape of the optical fiber, light ray can travel from one end to the other end of the optical fiber, and hence this optical fiber has got many applications. In the medicine department, doctors use the optical fibers to examine the intestines. Optical fiber pipe is sent into the stomach through the mouth. Then one optical fiber gives light, one optical fiber is connected to camera. Like that, the internal picture is seen on the computer screen. So without any surgeries, the doctors can understand, can see what is actually there in the intestine. Similarly, one more important application of optical fiber is to transmit the communication signals. Today, the mobile phones and internet we are using vastly. So this is all due to the optical fibers. 2000 telephone signals can be sent through one single optical fiber at a time. They travel without disturbing one another. So there won't be any loss of clarity. So signal is transmitted much better way than the conventional methods. So the optical fiber has many applications in many areas. Okay. So the total internal reflection applications are discussed. One is a formation of mirage. Second one is a brilliance of diamond. Third one is optical fiber. So these are all the applications of total internal reflection. Let us understand the refraction of light through a rectangular glass plate. ABCD is a rectangular glass plate. Its thickness is T. ABCD is a rectangular glass slab of thickness T. Here the white portion surrounded around this glass slab is the air, and it is the rarer medium. And you know, the glass is a denser medium when compared to air. So here air is the rarer medium and glass is the denser medium. On the face CD, a light ray is incident. PQ is the light ray incident on the face CD of this glass slab ABCD. If the glass slab is absent, then this PQ ray will continue like a straight line along PQR. So here this PQR is called the incident ray. Let us draw a normal at the point of incidence. PQ ray is incident on CD at the point Q. So Q is the point of incidence. So a normal is drawn at point Q. N1, N2 is the normal, and the angle between the normal and the incident ray is the angle of incidence. Let us call this angle of incidence as I1. So here PQR is the incident ray and the angle of incidence is I1, point of incidence is Q, N1, N2 is the normal. Right. Air is the rarer medium and glass is the denser medium. So the light ray is entering from rarer medium to denser medium, air to glass, rarer medium to denser medium. So it bends towards the normal. So the light ray PQ, instead of continuing as QR, it bends towards the normal and takes the path QS. So QS is the first refracted ray. We will get another ray, one more time refraction takes place, so we get a second refracted ray. Here QS is the first refracted ray. The angle of refraction, that is the angle between the normal and the first refracted ray, that is N1, N2, and QS is R1. And let us draw a normal at the point S. What is S? S is the point where this ray QS touches the other face, other wall of the glass slab, that is AB. So the light ray QR hits the other side of the glass slab at point S. So draw a normal at point S. N3, N4 is the normal. The angle of incidence at a point S, QS ray is incident on the side AB with an angle R2. So angle of incidence at S is R2. So here N1 and N2 are, N1, N2 and N3, N4 are the normals. Moreover, N1, N2 and N3, N4 are parallel. Why they are parallel? Because it is a rectangular glass slab. CD and AB are parallel. Therefore, their normals are also parallel. N1, N2 is perpendicular to CD. N3, N4 is perpendicular to AB. Since AB and CD are parallel, N1, N2, N3, N4 will also be parallel. Then using mathematics, two parallel lines are intersected by a straight line. So the corresponding angles, similar angles are equal. Like that, using the mathematics knowledge, we can say that R1 and R2 are equal. Now, the light ray QS is trying to enter from glass into air. So here glass is denser medium, air is rarer medium. Glass is denser medium, air is rarer medium. So the ray entering from denser medium to rarer medium will now bend away from the normal. So the ray QS bend away from normal. So we get a ray as shown here. ST is the second refracted ray. ST is the second refracted ray. One refraction took place at Q and second refraction takes place at S. So ST is the second. ST is also called as emergent ray, and the angle between the normal and ST is I2. I1 and I2 are equal. Since R1 and R2 are equal, we can prove that I1 and I2 are equal. PQR and ST are parallel but not coinciding. See, observe here. The original ray is QR, PQR, but the emitting ray is ST. That means it has displaced. The direction of motion is PQR. It is displaced perpendicular to the direction. So this is called lateral shift. Lateral shift is the perpendicular distance between the incident ray and the emergent ray. Lateral shift is the perpendicular distance between the incident ray and the emergent ray. So the perpendicular distance here is D between the incident ray PQR and the emergent ray ST. The perpendicular distance is D. The lateral shift D depends on the angle of incidence I, the thickness of the glass slab T, and refractive index of the medium, that means glass. Okay, so observe these two pics. There is a difference between the angle of incidence. So in case 1, in case 2, the angle of incidence I1 value is varying. So you can observe that D value is also varying. So for less the I value, less is the D value, more the I value, more is the D value. Similarly, observe these two pics. If the thickness of the glass slab is increased, instead of breadth, if you use length of the glass slab, you will find when T is increased, the lateral shift D value is also increased. Okay. So this is all about lateral shift, refraction of light through rectangular glass slab. Okay, understood? Right. Vertical shift. The formula is refractive index is equal to thickness of the slab divided by thickness of the slab minus vertical shift. N is equal to T by T minus X. Take a thermocol sheet, use some Fevicol and fix it over the drawing board. You can use a second drawing board as a screen in front of you to avoid any distortion from any other objects. Take a pin and punch it over this thermocol sheet as shown here. Mount a glass slab as shown here. Here the glass slab used is 1.2 centimeter thickness. Now adjust yourself such that the pin that you have mounted is seen through this glass slab and this pin is almost at the edge of this glass slab. Then take another pin and make yourself in front of this glass slab and see through the glass slab so that you can view the pin that you have mounted. So here care should be taken that you should see the pin through the glass and at the edge of this glass. Now the second pin is mounted such that it appears to be just besides the first pin when you are seeing the first pin through the glass and second pin through the air. The first pin is seen through the glass slab and second pin is seen through air, but it appears that both the pins are side by side. Then remove this glass slab and just have a look from the top. Though the two pins appears to be side by side when seen through the glass and air simultaneously, actually these two pins are not coinciding, they are not side by side. There is a gap between these two pins. Measure that gap in a direction. You have seen that gap between these two pins is the vertical shift. Now use another glass slab of another thickness. Here I am using a glass slab of thickness 1.8 centimeters. The above process is repeated, that is, seeing the first pin through the glass and seeing the second pin through air, mounting the second pin as if it is just besides the first pin. The first pin is seen through the glass, second pin is seen through the air, and you are mounting the second pin where you feel that these two pins are side by side. Once you remove the glass slab and look it from the top, you will feel that they are not at all side by side. There is a gap between these two pins, and that gap is measured and noted as vertical shift. Now, the same experiment is repeated with all the values are tabulated for different thicknesses of glass slab. The vertical shift values are noted. So here for thickness 1.2 centimeters, the vertical shift was 0.4 centimeter. For 1.8 centimeter thickness of glass slab, the vertical shift was 0.5. And for a thickness of 5 centimeter, the vertical shift was 1.8. And for a glass slab of thickness 7.8, vertical shift is 2.5. And for a glass slab of thickness 11.8, the vertical shift is 4.1. So as the thickness of the glass slab is increased, the vertical shift is also increasing. Using the formula n is equal to t by t minus x, where t is thickness of the glass slab, x is the vertical shift. The value of n, the refractive index, is calculated each time, and the 5 values we got here, the refractive index values in the last column, are added and divided by 5 to get the average value of refractive index. Here in this experiment, we got it as 1.49. So refractive index is just a number. It is 1.49. We don't have any units for this. Okay.